So from my part of the world, it's still good morning and good afternoon and good evening from wherever you are coming from. And welcome to the second Maritime ShEO conference and the panel on ShEO Smashing Stereotype, Spotlight on Africa. We are going to talk about how women in Africa are making waves in the maritime industry. And I believe that all of you ladies here know a lot. And today we want to share together some of our experiences and what is happening in our various industries, in our various countries in the maritime industry. I'd like to say that in Africa, we are doing our best. When we take what the African Union is doing at this time for us, we know that a lot is being done, and we are being encouraged by the AU to make sure that we all have maritime policies that do incorporate at least 20 to 30% female capacity in everything that which includes the maritime transport, of course. And then to be able to reach out with educational programs from on the STEM, business, and maritime. In fact, the Agenda 2063 of the AU requires gender parity by the end of the period, with 50% of women engaged in all spheres. So maritime transport is part of it. And this is the AU agenda. At least by 2063, we should have at least 50% of women in every area of the economy, the global economy. So let's say that today we are talking about smashing the stereotypes. But when we say that, what do we mean? Smashing stereotypes. What do we mean by gender stereotyping in our particular area, maritime industry? And how do we break that stereotype? Anyone to add? This one is going to be free, but at a point I'll be calling with maybe in alphabetical order. But right now, I want all of you to feel free if you want to add to it.
Yeah. Just to add to what Claire has said, I think in Africa too, the situation doesn't really help us much, because from the beginning, culturally, people are made to believe that certain roles are performed by males, while certain roles are performed by females. So from the beginning, you are groomed, or you are made to believe that this role is cut for you. The woman's job is supposed to be in the kitchen, and the male's job is supposed to be somewhere else. So you grow up thinking that, yes, your job is cut out for you. And for that matter, you don't have to move to somebody else's role. You understand? When I was growing up, I was made to believe that I have to be in the kitchen, and the boy's role is supposed to be out there and all that. And so culturally, sometimes some of our cultural beliefs set that it encourages stereotyping in our setups, and that is what we need to work towards, changing.
Great, that is true. That is true, because in some, like Sylvia has said, in some areas, in fact, the issue of shipping doesn't even come in at all for the woman. Many young women are not even allowed by their parents to choose shipping as a career at all. They think that spending time at sea is not the place for a woman. So it is true. And sometimes I think that there's a lack of awareness of the career opportunities in this, because it's not necessarily that you have to go to sea, but there are many jobs I'm sure that you can sea-based jobs on land that you can make a career out of it. So that is correct. Cultural and traditional and socio-cultural responsibilities do tend to become a barrier. And these are some of the things we need to cross over in our part of the world, our continent, and smash it completely. But because of all of this, and even the fact of lack of awareness, how can we then empower our younger generation, not just in mentoring? How can we empower our younger generation? Samba, would you like to take this one?
Yes. Regarding my opinion on how we can empower the younger generation, I believe we can empower them not only through mentoring. Mentoring, I would defend that mentoring would be one of the tools that would be essential in this process, because I believe it's a process, is not a list of tasks. I believe, firstly, we need to empower them through a better education. That's saying trainings that are accessible for a wider community. And sometimes, has not said, a lot of the community in general, they don't have very specific information on how the maritime sector works, or what kind of jobs they can have, or where they can operate. And we can make this awareness by educating the new generation. We can also offer scholarship for young ladies. I believe that would be a great idea, since we know that worldwide the maritime industry is dominated by male colleagues. So it would be, let's say, a very strategic a very strategic move to offer scholarship in order to try to balance the number of females and males in the maritime sector. I would defend, of course, has now already mentioned, the mentorship program for women and young ladies. And not only during the school or training season, but also through the job search process. So they understand that the maritime sector is not only for professionals that works on the ships, or for professional that works 3 months on the sea and 1 month on the land. So they are aware that they have many more options. And I would also defend that we should orient them on relevant tasks and relevant skills that they should invest in order to be on the top of the job market. This program can be provided, of course, but can be provided or supported by educational entities, for example, schools or universities. But even better, it would be very interesting to have the key players on the maritime industry providing also this mentorship, because it would be easier to insert those young professionals on the job market. I would defend also the creation of opportunity for leadership for position for the young ladies. That's saying working toward balancing the number of female professionals and male professionals on the companies. So I focus more on the female side, as this industry is already dominated by male professionals, and I think we need to have some kind of balance for the new generations to come.
If I can add, you think that we should try and push the younger generation into leadership roles?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, good.
And now if I can just add, what's really exciting about working and living on this continent is that almost 60% of the population is under the age of 25. And therein lies huge opportunity for future maritime leaders. Wow. We also have the greatest percentage growth of mobile phone users. So I think mentorship and scholarship is important, and information sharing is also critical. And we can do that more now because of access to technology. And in that way, it can also create awareness and a support network that we maybe wouldn't have had across the continent in the past.
Yes, 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 Claire, you are right.
Good. So to add to that now, I would
Yes.
like to, yes, in addition to what they have said, I think it's very important that for the young ones who are coming to know the opportunities that are in the maritime sector, you know, because of the perception that the maritime sector is for the males, a lot of young people are not aware of the various opportunities that are available for women. So in the first place, we need to make them aware that there are a lot of opportunities within the maritime sector for them to develop their careers in, and also ensure that, yes, those who have made it should be out there talking about, you know, telling people about the stories, about what they have gone through, and to serve as role models, you know, for the young ones who are coming up. And for this, I must commend the IMO for the efforts they are doing in granting scholarships to the young ones who want to pursue higher education in the World Maritime University. In the 90s, you had mainly the male workers taking advantage of this opportunity. But the World Maritime University had to make conscious effort to insist that, yes, if we want to offer scholarship, we want to see females also taking advantage of the opportunities available. And this encouraged many institutions in Africa, especially, to send young girls within the maritime sector for training. And you know, now you and myself, we are beneficiaries of this. And today, look at the amazing things we are doing within the industry. And I believe this is something that we have to promote. Because if we are asking for women to participate within the maritime sector, then, or the maritime space, then we should have what it takes for us to be part of this industry. And for that matter, I believe training, education, capacity building is very, very important. And that is the way we should look at it. Okay.
And I know that for us as women, gradually, in fact, what Claire and Sylvia said is very true. We have a young generation. We are being educated over time. Sylvia mentioned the education and the scholarships that IMO has been given, the fellowship that IMO has been given. Samba also talked about the need for scholarship, and Claire made the statement that fortunately for Africa, the youth are in the majority, 60%. And now with technology and all that, we shouldn't be lacking behind. And I think I agree with all of you for what you have just said. And I take note also of the fact that Edidiong said that we shouldn't just look at gender stereotyping only for the women, but the male also suffer the same. So I believe that these are areas we can all tackle. Great. I would like to ask you, does the government in your countries have policies to support women in the industry? And how have you maybe benefited from international organizations supporting? And Sylvia mentioned the IMO and what IMO has been doing. But in your own countries, how has the government been supporting by policy, way of policy in bringing up women in this industry?
Sure. In South Africa, there's a lot of proactive initiatives that support a diverse work environment. We have legislation, including the Employment Equity Act, that encourages employers to reflect the economically active population in their workforce. So reflect the percentage of women who are actually in the economy, in their own companies. And I think where it's really been exceptionally successful in our industry has been in government organizations such as Transnet National Ports Authority, where we see an enormous number of talented individuals who are leading in different ways and in different specialities, not only across our ports, but also in the strategic head office of Transnet. So yes, we are fortunate that we do have legislation that encourages the development and promotion of women, not only in employment, but also in skills development. And I read quite a shocking statistic earlier today It said only 67 countries in the world have laws against gender discrimination in hiring practices. So it looks like we have a bit of a way to go, but I'm pleased to say that a supportive environment really does produce results.
Sylvia, how about Ghana?
Thank you. Now, here in Ghana, we have a policy on gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. We have a policy on that. But I think it just looks at things broadly. But considering the peculiar nature that we have within the maritime sector, maybe we have to go a step further to develop a strategic, to come out with clear policies as to how we can empower women within the maritime sector. But having said that, I must say that in Ghana, women in the maritime sector have taken advantage of these associations, women in maritime associations that we have in the country. Currently, we have WISTA, we have WIMAfrica, and we also have WIMOCA, Women in Maritime of West and Central Africa. And I believe that is a platform that allows us to come together as women in the industry and to actually do the best we can to promote what we have within the sector. And I must say that because of the vibrant nature of these platforms within the country, the government institutions are working closely with these associations in the country. And I must commend the Minister for Transport in this country for the effort he has made in engaging the various maritime associations, women associations, associations of, let me go back. I must commend the Minister for Transport in the way he has been engaging these women associations and the support we have received from him over the years. He's been very, very supportive of our agenda, and he's promoting a lot of things that is enhancing the work of these associations. So even though we don't have a strategy, tailored to empower or to support women within the industry, I must say a lot of efforts have been made in this regard. And if we continue in that direction, it will go a long way to help our cause. Yeah.
Great. You talked about, Sylvia, if I go back to what you just said, the Minister for Transport has supported the women associations in Ghana, and I can also attest to it. But what are some of the practices that he has done to show that he supports women and bringing women up in the industry? Would you like to make some?
Yeah, as an association, we sometimes organize training programs for our members. And usually when we need the funds to do that, he comes to our aid. Even when we need his presence, to enhance whatever we're doing, he's all readily available to come to our aid. And he's always very prepared to support us in every way, no matter the challenge, no matter his schedule, is there. And I think by so doing, the various institutions under his ministry have also come to appreciate the important role that these associations play. And now you attest to the fact that now, when we have any program and we even go to the Ghana Port and Harbors Authority for support, financial support, these are, we don't have money. We go there and they support us. Recently, when we inaugurated WIMOCA, Women in Maritime of West and Central Africa, and we needed some equipment to work with, Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority was ready to provide us with the computer, the laptops, the tools that we needed to do our work, And this is the kind of support we need from the various institutions within our country, to help us promote our agenda and to get more women into the maritime industry. To empower women in the maritime industry.
We are seeing the practicality. that the support that we need for the growth and advancement of women, that is very good.
But of course, I must say that we have to go a step further to provide maybe scholarship schemes for young ladies who want to take advantage of it. Training programs. We know we have the Regional Maritime University here in Ghana, and sometimes some of these students have problems, challenges, having internship programs in the various institutions, you know, and we all know that these internship programs are very helpful, you know, if you want to have practical experience as to what is happening within the sector. So maybe we need to push for the young ladies and men to have access to the industries and to have a lot of training, internship, and on the job training, you know, going forward.
Apart from the mentoring, apart from the training courses, apart from the scholarships, for the younger generation, we are looking at granting them internship, which also falls under the on-the-job training, something like that, right?
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I hope I've been able to make my point.
It's very clear that even if training is part of letting them come on the on board, that is maybe visiting institutions and having a time. 3 months internship is a good thing, maybe not for long. Some offer 6 months, some offer 1 year. But by the time they are leaving, they have the practical knowledge of on the job training, and then they can do what they can even make a decision in which area they would like to go. Because like you all said, we have so many areas in the maritime industry. It's not just seagoing. There are other areas, maybe we'll number some of them. But Samba, what's happening in Angola? Do you have policies in place by the government?
Unfortunately, I'm not aware that they have any policies in place to benefit women in workplace or specific for the maritime industry. I know that this conversation have been started with Margaret Galho, because before in Angola has a vast bay, as everyone know, and we should be taking advantage a lot of the maritime sector, the blue economy, but unfortunately, we were not on that direction. Margaret Galho started the conversation in Angola regarding the blue economy, regarding the maritime industry, and he motivated different initiatives from the government, for example, creation of maritime institutes. But I think we still have a long way to go, not only in gender issues or policies helping women to enter the job market or the maritime industry, but also on how we understand our maritime industry, what is our maritime industry, and how we can take advantage of our maritime industry and our blue economy. So I would say that we are still on baby phases and we still have a lot of work to do on that sector in general.
Oh, okay. So maybe to continue from where Margaret stopped and push the agenda together with WISTA members to make sure that there are some form of policies in place in Angola. What do you think?
I think it would be very interesting because the work that WISTA do, that Ghana, for example, and other countries that are more advanced than Angola in that specific sector, I think it would be very strategic and it would benefit a lot Angola and the other country to have that sharing ideas, that sharing policies and resources. I think it would be very interesting.
That is good. That is true. I think this conversation shouldn't end here. It should be something that we should pick it up and then talk some more, because the African Union is looking out for each and every member state to ensure that they have maritime policies in place So we shouldn't end this conversation here.
I agree.
Yeah. So Edidiong, and I know Nigeria is one of the big maritime nations, and I would like to know what policies they have put in place to enhance the work of women in particular in the maritime industry.
Unfortunately, I have to tell the parts of Samba, there is no policy that I know of in Nigeria that enhances women in this industry. The only thing we latch on is associations like WISTA, WIMOCA, and WIMA and all that. And of recent, I joined one of the associations whereby we pulled the women seafarers together called FESAN. So we just try to, speak out on our own. We really do not have a policy. And apart from even having a policy, is another thing to have a policy, another thing to implement. So it's even the policies that we have in Nigeria, we don't have any checks anybody that is enforcing the implementation of the policies. So that is another angle entirely. I remember in Nigeria we have different maritime institutions apart from the main maritime academy owned by the country. We have other ones that are springing up. But it's one thing to have an institution, another thing to have a platform where they are trained, because the academic is superb, but it will be more fantastic if you have the practical experience. As we speak, we have a lot of seafarers who have finished the graduated from institution, but they do not have a place to practice. I was one of them, but my case was a bit different in the sense that I identified a mentor on time, and it was that mentor that showed me the pathway. Was through his help that I was able to get a placement on board. I'm telling you, it's practically impossible for Nigerians to get placement, and it's really challenging. And in FESAN, we try to encourage the females, who they have the passion, who have the desire to, but they don't have a platform to practice. So what we do in FESAN is to, liaise with ship owners and company owners and all that to see how we can help. So as for policy in Nigeria, I do not know we have any.
I see. Then it looks as if, because I was counting on Nigeria as one of the maritime giants, that they would have put in place some policies. And even if it's not being well implemented, we as the associations like WISTA in Nigeria, WIMA, WIMOCA, we can push this agenda forward. But all the same, it's not too late.
Not at all.
It's not too late. And we are still women, and we have these powerful associations. WISTA has been about 25 years in Nigeria. And before the others came, so we need to utilize these associations to push forward the agenda. We are talking about maritime policies here. But then I'm also aware that in 2019, the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, came out with a resolution, or actually dedicated the World Maritime Day theme to empowering women in the maritime community. Now, at the end of that year, a resolution was passed by the IMO, and I'm sure some of you may be aware of that resolution to empower women to reach their goals. And the Assembly resolution was for all countries to ensure that the women from the various in their countries are supported. I'm just paraphrasing the resolution. But I don't know, with what you have told me, whether your administrations, and I'll start with Sylvia, what is happening in Ghana concerning this resolution?
Well, I don't think we have a policy or guidelines in line with the resolution that you are talking about. But If you look across the various institutions within the maritime sector, I think on their own, you can see some efforts are being made to include women in the sector and to also empower women within the sector. I mean, looking back in the 90s, you didn't see many women within the maritime sector. And even the women that we had in our institutions, they were there to do clerical jobs. But now when you look across the maritime sector within Ghana, we have women who are heads of institutions within the sector. And that tells us that something is going on, something good is going on, you know. And it is encouraging that IMO is also emphasizing that we should go a step further to do more, you get it? So since we have various associations here, I think we can take advantage of this resolution and engage the various heads of institution or the ministers who are so, I don't know what word to use, but you can say they are so receptive, you know, they are so receptive to our cause. We can take advantage of this and then engage them to get something going. Because I must say, Ghana, the environment is very conducive with the current people that we have at the helm of affairs. The environment is very conducive for us to take advantage of the situation and run with it. And women, you know, if we want to do something and we are committed to it, we do it. So we should take advantage. Now we have IMO backing us. IMO has come out with a resolution. We have these platforms that we can use. We have WISTA, we have WIMOCA, we have WIM Africa. We can capitalize on that, take advantage of that, and then engage the powers that be to get things going. Thank you.
Great. And I just said this just in case some of you may not be aware of this resolution. I'm thinking that we need to capitalize on what Sylvia has just said, because the resolution is calling on all states to do so. But I don't know, maybe Claire, you can tell us what is happening in South Africa, because I know South Africa is one of the powerful nations pushing this agenda forward.
Thanks, Now. Maybe before I move to that question, I just couldn't agree with Sylvia more. There's definitely something good going on here. And now is the time to really leverage that. And I also want to say that even if there is an absence of policy, the women on this panel alone are testimony to making things happen. Great. So if there's anyone watching today and who's concerned that there's not a policy to enable them, you actually are the one who's going to enable yourself. And there, in some cases, you're going to have to be the one. I mean, I hear what my fellow panelist says about she found her mentor. You know, you can't wait for the policy or wait for the mentor or wait for the opportunity. The environment is there. You actually have to put the effort in and make things happen. And there's going to be so much more good that's going on. And then coming to your question now, I think that in South Africa, certainly from a government perspective, the Transport Department has a comprehensive maritime transport policy, which is not silent on the issue of gender, which does talk to equal participation in this sector. But I really do see, over and above it being in a policy, I see more equitable access to opportunities. And I'm surrounded all the time by women who are entrepreneurs, who are business owners, who are leading in government organizations and in private industry, who really are have understood that to make it happen, it really is about the agency that they invest into making things a success. So I'm not a policy expert. I'm just someone who's also worked from a junior position up into a senior one. And I think it's that important point to make, that it's you have the agency, you have the ability to move yourself forward. Don't wait.
Great, because part of the resolution says it encourages governments maritime administrations, and the maritime sector to share best practices in achieving gender equality with a view to reaching a barrier-free working environment for women in the maritime community. It goes on to say that it encourages efforts to collect, consolidate, and analyze data regarding the participation of women in the maritime sector in order to establish an evidentiary foundation that will set baselines, identify gaps, and inform policies aimed at removing barriers and increasing female participation in that sector. So I think that, as you've all said, indeed, we as women here should take advantage of this resolution. It says a lot. I know that WISTA and the IMO together have done a study which will reveal some of these baselines and gaps in the industry for women. And what Edidiong also said, good, that is good, because if you don't take it up yourself, nobody will do that. And I would like at this point, because of what all of you have said, if you want to share a bit of your own experiences, your own personal achievement, things that you decided that you are going to do in spite of maybe barriers or difficulties or challenges along the way. Who would like to start to share some experiences that we can all learn from? Personal ones.
I can start. And
Okay,
today I choose not to talk about me, but to talk about Margaret Galho, my big sister.
Yeah.
I choose to honor her and to talk about that great lady. She was the one that introduced me to this sector, to this industry, and that many of us have known or have worked with. I have been helped and inspired by her work, persistence, and resilience. Today, I choose to talk about her, not only my big sister, my best friend, and my biggest supporter, but also my mentor. Although she is no longer physically with us, I believe she still inspires many, and that her work is and will be relevant for many, many years to come. And will continue to disrupt the mind of many to what concerns maritime sector. The blue economy and the empowerment of female leaders within this sector, and consequently their responsibility in impacting others to inspire and uplifting the blue economy in their country. I will just read a very quick biography notes. So Margaret Galho was a registered lawyer in Angola and general manager of Margaret Galho and Associados. She was a member of many international associations and working groups, including but not limited as president of WISTA Angola and an active member of the Internal Fellowship of Dispute Settlement Expert of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. She has worked in many public institutions, such as the Ministry of Justice of Angola, the Ministry of Defense, where she was often requested to advise directly the minister. She was also part of many delegations, including the Angolan delegation to the state parties to the Law of the Sea that takes place every year in the UN. Margaret has participated in the elaboration of the current law of the maritime space of Angola, among many other state projects. She has also worked with Angolan National Oil Company, Sonangol, and a few of its subsidiaries. She is the founder of the Luanda Maritime Seminar, author of Quasi Bandeiras de Conveniência, in English, Quasi Flags of Convenience, and of the West Africa Maritime Boundaries. She was currently working on a publication project with Nelson Mandela University. She was also currently working for the United Nations, UNIDOC, more specific for the ICC in Cameroon. She was in charge of the follow-up on legal reform, among others, in 26 African countries. She was the first woman, the first African to be in this position. So Margaret started the conversation. She started the debate about, as I said before, about the maritime sector in Angola and how it can be of a positive impact and how it can be uplifting the Angolan economy. According to Dr. Margaret Galho, Angola and the Angolans, if they wanted and were willing to work toward it, they could live only from the blue economy. That's saying the economy of the sea, and that implying excluding the oil. So just the rest of the economy of the sea, excluding the oil, because right now Angolan economy has failed to develop other sectors of the economy, including the blue economy, and Angola is solely depending of the oil revenue, which is very, very bad, and that's why we are in crisis also. Dr. Margaret Galho didn't only envision the development of the blue economy for her own country, but in reality for all the African continent, and how Africans can interact and benefit from it. I will just mention very quick some of the pillars that she believed that had to be part of this development. The education, we have talked about education a lot here and how we can implement it in which ways. She also defended that we had to have open and clever discussion with key players. For example, what we are doing right now with the ShEOs from different African countries, and not only, that we should empower women in the maritime sector, that we should have a dynamization of the maritime sector, creation of new business, as well as attracting a well-meaning investor. And I want to finish saying that we do not need to be exceptional like Margaret Galho, like Vanessa Nakat, which is the African climate activist, or even Nelson Mandela. We only need to be ourselves, to make time for causes that are dear to our hearts. So those humans are exceptional because they heard the voice within them, because they pursued what fascinated them. So there is a lot of causes, even within the maritime industry, that we can impact, that can have a positive impact because we decide so. So we have to remember ourselves that there is no such thing as a cause too small for our time. We have an increased responsibility to solve and to contribute for issues that bother us or our social environment. So, for example, in our countries, in our cities, how is the development of the blue economy in our country? How the blue economy can improve the life of the person of our countries or our continent. So our passion is contagious. The same way that Margaret Galho was able to have a huge and positive impact in the sector, more specific in the African continent, creating awareness for the topic and motivating different forces. We can also infect others in a positive way. We do not need to change the world, we just need to change our world. If we change our world, we will be changing the world.
Great, great. Indeed, you couldn't have said it better, because I personally knew Margaret and the work she was doing, especially through the Luanda Maritime Seminars, which she did every year. I had the privilege to be part of this Luanda Maritime Seminar. I had the privilege of knowing her work with UNIDO. In fact, we are also talking about piracy in the Gulf of Guinea and her work in it, and how maritime administrations within the 26 countries could, she was working with, could have reforms and laws that could stop or prevent piracy in this region until her untimely demise. But we are very grateful for the work, and I can attest to it. As a member of WISTA, I knew that Margaret wanted to start something on business in Africa with her colleagues in Africa. So I know the kind of work that Margaret was doing, and we thank God for her life. Thank you so much for honoring her at this time, because she did a lot in Africa.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Is that Captain, would you like to share your own experiences? How did you get there as a captain? You're mute. You're on mute.
All right, sorry. So it's been a roller coaster journey, very interesting at that. So I think, like I mentioned earlier, when after my institution, like I said, the major barrier is getting a placement on board. Okay. And I faced that hurdle, and hopefully since we don't have what do you call, shipping company owners, it's not all of them want to take in females. And most of the excuses they're going to give is, the best space they have is meant for maybe 2 double bed, and you as a female, you can't share with a male counterpart and all that. So a lot of excuses. And like I said, since there is no policy to like mandate them, so we are their mercy, so to say. So in my own case, I got a place on board, and as a lady, you just have to overwork to prove that you can do it. So I went on board, and the experiences I had was a terrible one. I remember I was always very conscious of the fact that my room has to be locked anytime I get to the room. But I happen to work in a company whereby normally the captain of a vessel has a master key, and he can access any cabin on board the ship. So I was almost raped. The captain forced himself into the room, and he wanted to sleep with me, and I had to scream with every strength in me. So when he realized that I was not yielding, he left me. So that was one of the experiences that almost deterred me from pursuing the career. And another experience was prior to my entering the institution, I had to sit down and ask myself, are you willing to do this? I look at where I was heading to, what are the things that are going to help me to get to where I'm going. So I identified that on time, and I make adequate plan for myself. So before I'm happily married to a handsome man. I have 2 kids. This is one of the things that people say, being on board a vessel, being a captain, getting to that peak, you can't marry, let alone having children, is a big hurdle. It's the truth, but you as an individual, you have to identify what you want. If you don't know what you want, somebody will detect for you, someone will plan for you. So with that, I was able to make an adequate plan. I sat down, I asked myself some critical questions, and I answered them. So when some guys came up to ask for my hand in marriage, I was still in the field. I told them, guys, look this is what I want. This is where I want to, this is my path, the path I want to tow. Are you willing to tow the path with me? Some of them said, no. I lost 2 suitors. And I kept my head straight. And when eventually I met my husband, and the same thing I did with the others, I said, see, this is what I want to achieve in life. This is my career path. He was willing to go, the journey with me. And it's been so encouraging. It's been so encouraging. And like you said, my dream was to get to the peak, because in Nigeria, it's like a big, very, nearly impossible breaks. I needed to break that status quo, so to say, that we can achieve this. So hopefully I got my master's license from United Kingdom, and since then it has been paving ways for me. And my success story will not be complete if I don't have others coming behind me. So in my little circle, I do what I mentor in my little space. I encourage the upcoming females to yes, it's tasking, it's difficult, but you can achieve this. If I can do it, you too can do it. So that is what I do in my little space. So the challenges I faced was another thing, was discrimination. Discrimination in the you can't do this. It's not meant for ladies, it's meant for men. You as a woman, you are meant for the kitchen. So I with my achievement and where I am, which I know I've not gotten there yet, but there are a lot of opportunities out there are waiting for me. I want to believe that anybody can do it. So at this point, I also want to use the opportunity to ask us, I appreciate this platform. We need to publicize more. We need to let people know that this kind of industry exists and there are empowerments for women. Like mine, WISTA came timely for me. I'm a WISTA, WISTA sponsored me in my program throughout my institution. So with this kind of, WISTA is doing they are doing their very best and they're bringing up, but I want us to go further than just academic sponsorship, creating a pathway for these upcoming ones, especially on the vessels, will be a very good, it will be a very good leverage for us, the female. And another thing, like you rightly mentioned, there are different paths. Like me, I've gotten to the peak, I'm a master. Now I'm looking at a sector where I can fall into. Currently, I work with Shell. I am a terminal marine coordinator with Shell and a pilot in the making. So with the level I've gotten to, I don't need to be sailing around the world anymore. So what I'm telling ladies is it's not a continuous process till the end of your lifetime on Earth. It has a time, it's time bound. So if you're willing to, you can't eat your cake and have it. If you're willing to pay the price, you will definitely enjoy at the end of the day. It's a rewarding career. Is an interesting one. So that's my story. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. This is indeed very, very interesting. And I remember yesterday you wanted to, you would have put on your captain's uniform, but are you in the Codra or what?
I'm wearing my coverall.
Okay.
Yes, I'm actually working.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is very interesting. Claire, would you like to share yours? Claire is not a seafarer like you, Edidiong, but like I said, there are so many opportunities and she will share hers with us.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm a bit humbled to hear the stories of, obviously, I remember Margaret with great affection, and I feel I don't want to say anything in this space because I want to stand next to you, Samba, and honor your sister. But also I hear the captain's story, and it makes me think about the common threads that sort of run through these exceptional role models in our industry, and that's a commitment to lifelong learning, a commitment to being human and connecting with other humans, and this unwavering energy to make things happen and to create things. That's something that Margaret did really well. She came up with an idea, and not only did she come up with an idea, she actually turned it into reality. And I think that's the mark of success. And I see that success in many role models in South Africa. I work in the private industry. I'm a shareholder and executive at a specialist marine solutions company, which is active on the continent, called AMSOL, or African Marine Solutions. We're the leading employer of South African seafarers and a market leader in this space, and have successfully in the last 4 years increased the representation of women in our workforce from 8% to 15% through very deliberate policy implementation. It's not good enough, but it's certainly moving forward despite economic challenges. And I, in thinking about what the previous panelists have spoken about, it also makes me think of someone who I certainly see as a role model in South Africa. Her name is Mpumi Dweba Kwetana, and she has recently been appointed as the port manager of Durban, which is the largest and busiest shipping terminal in sub-Saharan Africa. And her career has certainly also displayed those qualities of commitment to lifelong learning, and to being excellent, to just being excellent in what she does and putting her heart into ensuring that expectations are met. And also importantly, in ensuring that she empowers those around her, and that her success has become the success of many others that she's mentored and opened the door to. So I'd like to use my time to pay tribute to her and to the many other women in those kinds of roles who really are leading by example, and who are, maybe they don't realize how much they're opening gates for future generations.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you very much, Claire. Indeed, all over Africa, we know that women are making the waves, and the tide is changing, the tide is turning. And we believe that such discussions even opens more for us to share and to know what is actually happening. Sylvia made a statement earlier that things are changing, and I believe that there is indeed a paradigm shift in Africa, and women in Africa, especially within the maritime industry, are making waves. Thank you, Claire, for sharing this with us. And Sylvia, you are the last but not the least. Would you like to share your own experiences?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Na. I think my experiences are not different from what has been told, because for a lady to come this far, you certainly have to go through a whole journey in a male-dominated environment. You know, I started working with the Ghana Shippers Authority right after my university, you know, in 1993. And when I didn't even know anything about shipping, but as any graduate who had just finished, all you want to do is to look for a job. And I was fortunate to land myself in the Ghana Shippers Authority. It was all new, and I had to battle things on my own, you know, with the help of a few who were around. But through hard work, you know, and determination, I keep saying, I moved through the ladder. And in 2015, I became the deputy CEO of the organization, but it wasn't that easy. You know, I had to serve in various capacities, traveling out of my comfort zone to other regions to serve. But these are some of the challenges we should embrace. You know, if you want to get to the top, you should be ready to embrace the challenges. And in an environment like ours, where you have competitions within and outside, you know, even your male counterpart competing with you, thinking that the job is supposed to be theirs, you need to work twice as much as they do to get to where you have to get to. So it means hard work, and hard work. And of course, I must say it wasn't all bad. We had people within the organization who believed in women, who supported, who knew that some of us in there had a future and were ready to support. So I had a role model, I had a mentor. But this time my mentor, my role model was a male. You know, I know sometimes we're looking out for role models who are females, but this time I must admit that there are some men within the industry who can identify women who have the ability, who have the capability, and are ready and willing to support. So on this, I want to pay glowing tribute to my former CEO, Dr. Kofi Mbia. He was an exceptional boss, and he wanted to see women advance within the industry. Not only me, but I can attest to the fact that many women who were within the organization had the support of our dear CEO, Dr. Kofi Mbia. And he championed, he supported. There were times he would put me through challenging assignments. And, you know, like all human beings, you would wonder whether you can do the job. I recall there was a time he assigned me to handle a branch office. And initially I said, yes, I would go, even though I had a 4-year-old single parent to take care of, but I had to go outside my comfort zone to do it. But later I confronted him and I said, are you sure I can do this job? He said, yes, Asana, I believe in you. I know you can do it. Go and do it. I mean, we all make mistakes. You learn from your mistakes and you move on. That is it. You need to be human. You don't have to be a superwoman. Be human. You are a human being. You go through the challenges, you make mistakes, and you learn and you move on. But the important thing is that you don't give up. You don't give up. You should know where you want to get to and then be committed to your cause. So I would like to thank my former CEO for how far he has brought me, because I know it is through his mentoring, his advice, his guidance that I've gotten this far. And I'm proud to say that he's part of what I am today. But going forward, I want to see more women within the industry. It is my desire to actually get more women into the fold, because we all know the challenge that we have. And of course, I hope I'll be able to make an impact, positive impact, so that the young ones within the industry will be challenged enough, they will be encouraged, they will be motivated, you know, to come and develop careers within the maritime sector. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we can hear.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Thank you for sharing this beautiful experience. All of you have shared from the various aspects of the maritime industry. Jobs?
There's something I wanted to add. Sorry for back. Very importantly, I remember when I was telling you we have advent of technology, WhatsApp, Twitter, some means of communicating with family.
Yeah, the social media.
Yeah, exactly. I then remember far back then, it was only the master of the vessel that was having access to internet. So if you want to make calls or something, you need to meet the captain or thereabout. So I had my little baby, my first child then, and I left him when he was barely 9 months. I remember anytime I have opportunity to speak with them, I will be so emotional. And even before you speak, there are times you just need someone to talk to, someone to communicate, and the male counterpart, they're even looking for such vulnerability. So because you don't want to be for them to make use of you, you just have to retract back to your shell. So one of the things that helped me, I know it sounds funny, but what I did that was helping me emotionally was to depressurize, was crying. It sounds funny, right? Yes, I cried. At times when I feel like I'm far away from the family, I'm so lonely, nobody to talk to, nobody to lean on, I will just enter my cabin, I will lock up and I will cry. Believe me, I will cry. And by the time I'm done, you see, I'll be so relieved. I will have this kind of fulfillment, sort of, that was one of the things that helped me. I don't know, it might sound funny, but it can be an help to someone. Just cry, depressurize, and you'll be fine. And also have at the back of your mind that it's time bound. You're not going to be in it forever. So that will also guide you, help you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Indeed, we know that the life of a seafarer, not even just the female, but the male, it can be quite lonely. And especially if you're a woman and you don't know where to go to turn to, I think, like you said, the only place to turn to is your cabin and cry a bit. That is quite relieving, and you come out with a straight face. I think for us women, we are fortunate that we can cry and still come out with our faces cleaned and looking happy and strong, as if nothing happened. That is how we have lived our lives. Thank you all. You've shared your experiences, and they are very beautiful experiences. And I'm sure those listening and who will be listening will be picking from it. Thank you, Sylvia, for what you shared. You said she had a male mentor. So even we have males who are ready to support the women. They are not every male is against us, but there are some who really are ready to mentor us and give us the necessary support to move us forward. So we should be grateful for that. And I'm very, very glad that we've been able to have this time and to know that we are still making inputs, contributing our quota to our maritime industry. For maritime transport, we all know, is the backbone of even the global economy, as 90% of the world trade is taken by maritime transport. So, ladies, I can say that we are moving forward. We are making waves. All of you have shared something very beautiful, and the women, other women who have also made waves. I know of some women, even in South Africa, for maritime security. We know of one lady, Lieutenant Commander Zimasa Mambela, who I understand took control of a warship. We also know in Egypt, Elsa El Saladi, also within, who is also a captain in Egypt, and quite a number of other women we cannot mention or who are making waves in Africa. So I believe that this is just the beginning. If the African Union is calling for, within the next 15 years, is calling on each member state, the 54 member states, to develop a national maritime plan within the next 3 years, I'm sure we shall have policies in place which will guide our footsteps. But even before this happens, we all here on this platform have a role to play. And we mentioned the IMO, the training programs, the scholarship, the fellowships, and what they are doing right now. And we can stand on the Assembly resolution to push forward the agenda. It's also, the AU also recommends that from now on, we should build up a minimum of 20 to 30% female capacity within the blue economy, including the maritime transport. And I'll say again that the recommendation includes female youth to be invited in the dialogue, and then the outreach of related educational programs like the STEM, the science, the technology, the engineering, and the maths, the business, and maritime. So these are areas we should all fight within our various associations, within our various working places to move it forward. We are making waves, but we want more. We want more. And the Agenda 2063 of Africa Union requires that gender parity by the end of the period. At least 50% of women should be in all areas. So ladies, thank you so much for coming. And it was a pleasure having you and learning from you and all that you have to put down. Let's not drop this subject. I think we should meet again to share more what we are doing. Maybe next year we should have something like that to see what has gone on. In the meantime, let's move our associations to pursue this policy agenda. Once again, I will say thank you, and it's been a great pleasure having you. Thank you.
Thank you again very much now for the invitation, Sanja, for organizing this event. And thank you, Sylvia, to Clara, Edidiong, and to all the participants for sharing the knowledge and experience with all of us.
Thank you.
I would like to thank the organizers for this initiative. It's been an eye-opener for all of us, and personally, I've also learned a lot. I thank Sanjam, I thank IMO, I thank all the organizers. Now, you've been amazing. So thank you all, and thank you. I've had the opportunity of meeting all of you, though virtually. I'm looking forward to a physical meeting, so that we can all continue to share our experiences. Thank you, and I feel honored to be part of this special initiative, special program. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank
I also
you.
want to say thank you for the privilege. It's indeed a great one. I want to say this kind of platform should be encouraged to where we can share experience, people learn from it, and definitely we'll achieve our dreams. Thank you once again. My pleasure meeting every one of us in the call. Thank you.
Thank you, and bye-bye.